You want people in your life. You want to feel close to them, to be understood, to have that easy comfort of knowing someone sees who you are and likes you. But sometimes without realizing it, you end up doing things that make people pull away. And the harder you try to connect, the more strained things can feel. And it's like there's something in the way, some invisible wall between you and other people. And even when your intentions are good, something goes wrong. You talk too much, or you go too quiet, or you try to help them too much. You get triggered. And then afterwards you feel like, why did I do that? And this is so common for people who have been traumatized, especially when it happened early in life. You learned how to protect yourself, and those protections were probably necessary at the time, but later, when you're trying to have healthy relationships or friendships, these old habits can start working against you. They're sneaky, aren't they? Most of the time, you don't even notice you're doing them, but the people around you, they can feel it, and that's where the distance starts. So I want to walk you through 5 behaviors that can quietly push people away and show you what to do instead. These aren't just little habits, they're core patterns that often show up in people who were neglected or abused in childhood. There's a connection wound there. And if you want to check some common signs that a connection wound is active, that past trauma is affecting your ability to connect, I've got a quiz for you. I've called it very cleverly the connection quiz, but I'll put it in the top line of the description section below this video. So when you start to shift these behaviors, everything in your life can change. I'll start with one I used to do all the time. Number 1, trying to control the people you care about. It doesn't feel like control when you're doing it. It feels like care. You give advice, you offer suggestions, you warn people when you think they're doing something wrong. You want the best for them, but underneath that, there's fear. You're afraid that if they don't act a certain way, you'll get hurt or embarrassed or triggered or left out. So you try to manage them. What they eat, how they talk, who they spend time with. You might not even say it out loud, but the tension is there. They can feel your disapproval. And even if you're not trying to be harsh, it makes people want to step back. So when I first started healing from the effects of trauma in my life, all I had at first was my daily practice techniques, but I basically knew nothing about how my trauma-driven behaviors were driving people away. And I thought I was just cursed, literally. And even though I was in therapy, lots of therapy, we never really addressed this. And honestly, I was getting a lot of validation for how hard my life was then, how sad I was that I kept losing people. But it wasn't until this very young woman happened to give me some very in-your-face insight about what was going wrong that I had a huge aha moment. I was trying to control everyone. This was a survival tactic from my insane childhood in a home full of alcoholics. And it helped me stay alive and functional back then. But trying to control everyone as an adult was not working for me, like at all. And I can see now my motives were to keep them in my life, to try to keep my own inner chaos from getting triggered by them so that I wouldn't drive them off with my anger and stress. So it's kind of like backward way to try to manage your own feelings is to control other people so that they don't set you off. You know, trauma wounds, they do that. They make things go backwards. Survival strategies are hard to let go of, but I had this huge awakening on it, and I made this radical decision to stop trying to get people to behave or stay or like me or even to show up on time for things we planned. And I decided to trust that whatever happened was meant to happen. I just decided, I'm just going to assume that's true. And I just totally let other people be themselves and waited to see what would happen. And I was sure everything was going to fall apart, but you know what happened? I bet you can guess. Nothing happened, not really. Things were fine, but there was less tension, there was less stress, there was less judgment from me and less resistance from them. And this is where actual connection takes place, and everything in my life took a happy turn for the better. So try this. Let people be who they are and just watch what happens. Not with a hidden motive, but for real. Let go of the need to fix them. Let go of the idea that you know how they should be, and then decide, do I actually want to be around this person? Because sometimes what becomes clear is that you don't actually accept the person as they are, and as they are is what you get. People grow more in an environment of acceptance than they do under pressure. Have you noticed that for yourself? And if someone isn't a fit for your life, you're allowed to step away, but don't make closeness conditional on them changing to suit you. All right, number 2. This is a behavior that pushes people away. Flaking on plans while hoping people will keep including you. So you say yes to invitations. You say, let's get together. But when the day comes, you cancel, you disappear, or you give vague answers and hope someone else will figure it out. Maybe you feel overwhelmed or anxious, or you're just used to being alone. But to the other person, it feels like you're not interested, or you don't value their time. And if you do this more than once or twice, people stop asking. They stop inviting you. And you tell yourself, see, no one really wants me around. But the truth is you didn't show up. You weren't clear. You left them hanging. And that's what pushed them away. So here's a simple fix. If you say yes, mean it. If you're not sure, say no. It's better to be honest than to ghost somebody. Even a short message, hey, I'm not up for it this weekend, but I'd love to see you another time, can build more connection than saying nothing and disappearing. All right, third behavior that pushes people away. These are just some of them. I could list 100, but I want to talk about some important ones. So this one is talking too much and forgetting to ask the other person, how they're doing. When you've been isolated for a long time, it's normal to feel full of words. You've been holding so much inside, and when someone finally gives you attention, it all comes pouring out. You might not even notice how long you've been talking. You might think you're connecting, but for the other person, it can start to feel like there's no room for them. And eventually they'll get quiet, or they'll stop calling, and you'll feel confused and hurt. Now, one of the fastest ways to build connection is to simply take turns, speak your truth, but then ask a question. Give the other person space to share. Pay attention. Listen without jumping in with your own story. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to be a pathological listener who never gets listened to. Just, hold up your end of the friendship. Catch yourself when you start to steamroll a conversation. Pause. Breathe, give some space. It's not just about being polite. It's about being in a relationship, not a monologue. All right, number 4, using concern as a cover for criticism. Oh, I hate it when people do this to me. This one's hard to see in yourself. It looks like love on the outside, but underneath it's a judgment. It's just it's a sneaky way to criticize somebody. So it sounds like this. I'm just worried about your eating habits, or I'm concerned about how you're raising your kids, or I think you're making a mistake, but it's none of my business, except you just made it your business by inserting yourself in the middle of somebody else's business. So when you talk like this, you might think you're helping, but it puts people on the defensive. They feel judged, not supported, and it makes them want to protect themselves from you. Instead of pointing out what's wrong with someone's choices, try being curious. Just ask real questions, and if you can't be neutral, just don't go there. Most people already know the thing you're trying to help them with. They don't need a critic. They need a friend, a witness, a calm presence. And if they ask for your input, that's great. But be kind, be gentle, say less than you think you need to. Leave space for them to think about and decide for themselves. All right, number 5 behavior that pushes people away, being prickly and rigid. So people feel like they're always about to get in trouble. I think we all know someone like this, right? This is one of the fastest ways to drive people away. And a lot of traumatized people don't even realize they're doing it. You say that you have boundaries. You say you're just protecting your peace. But to the people around you, it feels like they feel like they're walking on eggshells around you. They feel like they're one wrong comment away from being shut out or scolded. Now, you might have a lot of rules. Maybe you don't want people texting after 9 p.m. You don't want advice. You don't want questions about certain topics. Maybe you need everything said in just the right tone, or you assume someone's mad at you, or you demand that they use the right words because you feel it's immoral to use different words for things. But here's the problem. Your friends can't read your mind. And if every interaction has a risk of doing it wrong, people get tired. They stop feeling safe around you. Not because you're dangerous, but because they can't relax. You don't need to throw out all of your boundaries, but take a look at them. Are they about protecting your well-being or about controlling other people's behavior? Boundaries are supposed to help you act with clarity and kindness. They're not rules for managing other people. If you're cutting off everyone who annoys you or constantly correcting the people closest to you, you're not building connection, you're building a fortress. And no one wants to be friends with a fortress. Now, boundaries are important. You do get to say no to certain things. But if you're getting very controlling of people, it's possible that you're trying to make them into some acceptable form of themselves so you can keep hanging out with them rather than letting the relationship go. Because if you have that many criticisms of them, maybe what's honest is that you don't really want to be friends. So that's something to consider. Now, by the way, you can learn friendship skills. Some of us need to be taught these things. I did. If you need tips on how to be a friend, I've got a very sweet download for you that lays it out. You can get that for free in the top line of the description section below. The more you can relax and let small things slide, the more space people will have to show up fully with you. And the ones who aren't good for you, you'll still know, but you won't have to punish everyone preemptively just to stay safe. You don't have to be perfect, but you might need to revise your system here. Because if you grew up without real connection, if no one showed you how to be close, how to trust, how to be a friend, then you're going to have to learn it now because you don't have a memory of how to do it. You don't have this previous state to go back to. If you never had it before, then it's your turn to learn it from scratch. This isn't a mindset shift. It's not about being braver or trying harder. It's about building a capacity you may have never had the chance to develop. The behaviors that push people away, those were your protection. But now they're the thing standing between you and the closeness that you want so much in your life. So you start small. You start by noticing what isn't working. You try something different. You take responsibility, not for what happened to you, but for who you are now and how you move through the world. That kind of change is powerful, and it is possible. It might not be fast. It might not be easy, but it's possible. And if you're ready, you can start that healing right now. If you like this video, I've got one I think you'll really love. It's right here, and I will see you very soon. Today, what's happening is your own behavior. And the worse you were hurt back then, the more likely it is that you have a pattern of hurting yourself now.